I've got a confession to make.
I need to get this off my chest. As a business owner, we all make mistakes.
I've got to confess.
And we are doing it all again. Confessions of a business owner with my fellow co-host, Kim Barrett. How are you doing?
Doing awesome, man. How you doing?
Dude, I'm super excited for this episode. We've been playing around thinking about this one for a while and talking about how we're going to do it. Do you want to reveal the topic, or is it on me for today?
I'm happy to reveal the topic. So this is, well, I mean, it is one, but almost two topics in how we're going to run this through. But it's what would we do if we had to start all over again? So it's like one of those old, I think it's maybe like a party little conversation starter. It's like if you're on a desert island and you had nothing, but you had all your skill sets, what would you do, kind of thing. Australia's a desert island, so it's kind of applicable to us. So if we had everything disappear, what would we do today to get back into business, to get things up and running?
I'm pumped for this one. I actually had someone ask me this question the other week, like someone who was a little bit greener in business. I won't name them on this show because I'm not sure they would want to be. But this person had come up to me and basically said, look, I'm new, I'm starting out. Like, what would you do if you had to start all over again? And I was like, oh, that's a really good question. Like, I think we should bring this to the show. So I'm really glad it's made it to the list, and we're going to get to tell people about that. But before we do, how's things your side? How's things in Kim Barrett's world?
Oh man, things are great, and I hope there's not too much noise in the background, because apparently my glass door that I've been waiting 3 weeks for is getting installed the exact time that we choose to do a podcast. So if you guys hear some lovely noise, confession, I am getting a wall installed at the moment, so I don't know why they chose right now to do it, but magic and fun. And also, more importantly, my beautiful assistant, I got to be careful when I say that because people think I'm referencing her, but I have an amazing assistant starting with me, Jenna. So I'm pumped to help me get hands-free by 30 June. She kicked off this week.
Awesome. So new staff member starting. So you've officially got your own virtual assistant or executive assistant to really get rid of that next workload from outsourcing agents. Dude, that's killer. I'm excited for you.
Yeah, I can't wait. So I'm excited. She's so honest. She's messaging me every day like, Kim, where's my tasks? Watch this video. Can you send me a video on this? I'm like, yes, this is great.
Well, you got to realize when I got word that Outsourcing Angels, my company, would be providing Lord Kim Barrett with a VA, needless to say, it's like, well, we will, as we all are always, I should say, but it's like always, we've got to make sure we're picking people that are honest. It's a really important thing, and someone that's going to meet the expectations of the man himself. So it's like very, very well selected on this one for your needs, because we know you so well.
Yeah, no, it's great. So I'm excited. And what about yourself? What's been happening? Anything anything not too crazy, but anything exciting popping off?
I've actually had a very interesting week. So number one, I've got the new AirPods. So for anyone that's watching the video, is that I copped a bit of slack from people this week. I had a bit of trouble with haters online. And one of the things I was getting picked on for was my headphones. And I don't want to say I bought the AirPods because of the haters, but I will say that I'm thoroughly enjoying the AirPods itself. But it's been a really interesting one. So this week, and it's kind of like we get things in waves, is I've had 3 separate haters come at me in different directions. Like one about the podcast, one about the headphones I use, and then another about some things I posted on social. And it was like, it's very funny, even on your comment before about calling your assistant beautiful, we can't do that stuff anymore. We can compliment their skills, but you can't compliment the ladies because you'll get in trouble for being sexist. So very interesting week. But I like to remind myself that when people say things like that, often you don't know what's happening in their world. Like a lot of the times when people troll comment or say things, I go, you just got to take a deep breath and realize that there's another side to that story, and maybe they're hurting or need help in another way. And I would even, offer them help or try and get something to get that going. But yeah, that's been the story of my week in a little bit of ways. But everything else, really, really positive.
No, that's good to hear. Well, as one of the greats has always said, haters gonna hate. One of my good friends, T Swift. So it's always going to happen. So and it's good that we had a little chat about it, and you go, it's like, I'm not worried about it, but it's like, and I said, you hit kind of the trifecta where it's like normally you get haters spread out and you got all of them in one day. And I was like, well, hey, you hit the trifecta. So most people don't get that. So you're lucky.
Well, here's the thing. I always go with if you're getting haters, right, and it's going to happen inevitably if you're publishing things right there. It's like you've got to really take a conscious breath to go, this is just one person that's obviously dealing with something or has something going on. And it's like you actually need to double your output because there's more people that are out there that need to hear this stuff. Like when we do this podcast, like the reason we do it is we want to share things to improve another business owner's life. Like that's our intent. I'm sure it's your intent. Like that's why we do it, is we want to make a difference in these things. And for that person to have an effect on me where I would stop doing that, it limits the opportunity of helping all those other people. So I'm like, right, I'm going to double down. I'm going to post twice as much. I'm going to try and really lift the game there. But
yeah, that was funny.
I digress because I really want to get into today's topic. Now, we've got to state the rules of the game for everyone that's playing along at home.
Rules of engagement.
Yeah. So how we're going to tackle this one is we've both been selected to go, okay, what would we do if we had to start all over again? Now, we have our knowledge and skills, but we do not have our networks or our teams. So we don't know anyone in this scenario. And we don't have any staff we can rely on call on juvie or any of those things to make it go down from there. So it's like a fresh start, but we do have the knowledge and skills. Now we're going to play this in two parts. So part one is that we're going to go through this scenario if we had $25,000 in cash. So we had some startup capital, how we'd go about it. And then question two is going to be, or option two, I should say, is going to be if we had nothing. So no startup capital, knowledge and skills, but nothing else, how we go about it from there. So do you understand the rules of the game, Kim Barrett?
I've got the rules. May the odds ever be in your favor.
Ooh, so we've got agreed terms here. So as usual on this show, I'm going to let you lead off. So we're going to go with option one. You've got your skills and knowledge and nothing else. Oh, actually, I shouldn't say nothing else. And you've got $25,000 in startup capital. What would you do? Let's lead into it.
Well, I think it's like I could cop out very easily because obviously I'm good at generating leads and I'm good at making sales. So I could just run ads and make sales very easily.
Oh, well, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna do this right now. You're not allowed to do what you're doing now. We're gonna add in a final rule here. We'll
just throw all my things out the window. I'm not allowed. So you're saying I'm not allowed to use this? I'm not alled to be in the same industry, or I'm not allowed to use this?
You're allowed to use your skills, but you're not allowed to rebuild the same business. I'm throwing that in.
Okay, now you've thrown me a curveball. Okay, so then I'm gonna do a parallel industry. Here we go. So obviously I got 25 grand. The first thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to buy myself a laptop and a mobile phone. Two key essential things for someone using the skills of an internet marketer. That will be number one. So what I would probably look at doing myself is instead of doing marketing and lead generation for companies, I would probably go down a coaching route, purely because I think I have the skills and ability of educating and also holding people accountable. Now, I would probably do this slightly different because I do have the other skills, and I think I do have a good approach of critical thinking and analyzing and assessing things, is that the vast majority of that money, of that 25, I would drop straight into a mastermind group because I don't have my network. So I would probably drop in and look at and assess all the top ones of people that have businesses that are doing probably $500,000 to $1 million, because I could add the most value to them in the knowledge that I have on growing businesses. And I would jump into that mastermind group. Hopefully, they'll have payment plans so I don't have to pay that cash up front, so I can use and facilitate some of that money. So what I would do is I would do that, jump in there, and the first thing that I would start doing is adding value to that group, giving as much as I can, helping, commenting, sharing. If they have meetup events, getting to their events and adding massive value to the members to start generating my own clients from that community would be one of the first things that I would do. Then as part of that, I would get really, really good results for the top person in there, the most well-known, recognized person. And then I would utilize them as a case study on how, through the coaching methods of Kim Barrett, they were able to grow from $750,000 to $1.5 million and generate more inbound inquiries for myself. And then what I would do is I would have my fee for the coaching. And then I would also have a fee plus profit share model on top of that would be what I would do for coaching them. So if I help them generate over $1 million, whatever they generate over $1 million, I'll take a percentage of that would be the way that I would structure it. And then I would get that to the level where I don't necessarily probably have to work as much, don't really need a team, 5 to 10 high-level coaching clients, some that I get a profit share of, kick back and sip a couple coconuts after that.
It all sounds so easy. I feel like you should be quitting and I'll give you 25 grand and just go do it. No, that's very clever. So I just want to put in a point here. So you've got majority of your funds going into a network because that is what you value, which I think is I agree. I think there's a huge thing there. What about things like websites or landing pages? Because you've got your phone and laptop, but you've got your skills. So how are you getting around those things? Because you've mentioned a few things that would require web assets.
I would say I wouldn't even have a website, first of all. What I would have is I would actually have some metal business cards that just have the letter K on it and my phone number on the back. No other information. Just the letter K and then my phone number. And I would just give that to people. And I would tell them what I do. And they're like, oh, cool, I'll Google you. I was like, you won't find me on the internet. I'm like one of those secret assassons. I don't know if it's kind of weird, but analogy. But did you hear on the news today? This is mid-March, which we're recording this. But there was like an attack. They used like a nerve formula attack on like a Russian spy. I'm kind of like that, but for business in the UK today. So that just popped into my head because I was watching it this morning at the gym. I was like, this is fully James Bond. So I would position myself as like the James Bond of business coaching. You don't even know I exist. 007. So you've got like your earpiece.
A team theologically here. So you don't find me, I find you. And it's all through this network.
Exactly.
Okay, so I want to break this down. So a further question is, where in the world are you? So if you don't know anyone, there's no reason to be anywhere. Where are you doing this? Do you feel Australia is still the place, or would you go, I don't know, maybe the US, UK?
I would probably go to the US, purely because, especially being a Australian, I'd probably stand out a lot more. I'd probably be more remembered and recognised, just purely because I'd be Australian. No other reason apart from this Australian guy, he's here and he's in these groups and he's doing this stuff. That's what I'd probably do it there because I think it would work faster. And I'd have a bigger majority of people to work through to find the ones that I want.
It's interesting here because I look at this right now and it's like a lot of people, when they would start a business with 25 grand, I reckon they'd blow 20 grand of that on logos and websites and things like that. And it's funny that on the other side of things, and I do agree with this, by the way, is like you've completely invested in network and knowledge and things that kind of scale a bit better because you can always get those things down the road. So, I mean, are we kind of pointing out here that maybe websites and branding and all those aren't the places to start for a business? Or do you don't think they are in this case?
I don't think you need it to start. I mean, I think it's like, and depending on the size and scale as well, like I look at some of the people that I've invested with and I've done things with and whatnot, I don't think I ever went to their website from memory. I mean, I do think it's good at certain points to have like solid branding, web presence, all that sort of stuff. But at the very beginning, I think you can get away with getting things started too. I used to have a terrible website. And up until probably 4 months ago, I didn't even have a Kim Barrett website. I had the domain. I didn't have anything up for that, and I still book speaking gigs, still get tons of inquiries to stuff directly to me. So I don't think that it's a necessity. So I would say, like apart from the only thing I would have is on the second phase, I think I mentioned there about doing a case study funnel. Like I'd probably buy ClickFunnels, $97 a month US to get that. But apart from that, that's really all I would have. Like I'd definitely be, and especially if I was in the US, I'd be spending a lot of time traveling, flying around. If I had, let's just say it cost me $2,000 a month to be a part of a community, $2,500 or whatever, like I'd probably spend a lot of money jumping on planes because I'm not afraid to travel and I got my travel hacks. So I would jump, and if someone in the group was like, oh yeah, I want to do that, I'd be like, cool, I'll come visit you tomorrow and I'll help you map it all out. I'd be like, oh wow, this guy's just going to come visit.
I really love how you're leveraging your skills here. Like you actually put a thought into what are you good at. So it's like you're going to get access to networks, leveraging events and going to in-person things and getting involved in a community. Okay, what about team then? At what point are you prioritizing team in this? Because I haven't heard we're hiring anyone yet.
I would probably, to be honest, not hire anyone. Maybe once the stage I've got my 10-ish coaching clients, might give a company called Outsourcing Angels a call and get a virtual assistant or something like that. If they'd have me, they wouldn't recognize me, but if they would allow me to come through, I might pick up a virtual assistant. But I think ideally, like I probably wouldn't do, like I wouldn't need, I don't think I'd look to build a team. I'd probably have some connections and specialists. Like if I was staying away from what I'm doing now, like I'd have some communities or marketing people that I would go, cool, like you're my chosen partner for my clients, and tie into them.
I love this, dude. So I think you've hit a really important point, and I'm sure we both feel this way, although you can say I disagree. I don't want to speak for you on the show. But it's like, in my mind, if you're starting all over again, it's like the first thing you want to do is actually validate something. So you want to validate your idea, get a bit of traction, or do a pilot group of clients, and then you kind of go back and go, right, I'm going to get the website, I'm going to invest in the branding, I'm going to hire the team. It's not the other way around. You don't necessarily start that way if you're limited on capital or resources or people you know.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's the best way, is to get it, and I'll kind of probably dig more into that into the second point when we don't have the capital. But yeah, that's the main things that I would focus on for getting me kickstarted. And I reckon that would probably take me, I reckon I would be within 3 months, I'd be pretty comfortable, I reckon, using that process. And then like 6 to 12 months, I'd be in a very, very solid position, like financially and business wise. But the first 3 months, I would go like hard, as I said, like especially being in the US, flights cheap, like I'd be flying to everyone, everywhere, all the time, $100 here, $100 there, and just getting around and just, networking the crap out of it.
Dude, brilliant. I think that's absolutely brilliant. And it suits you to a T. You've made use of all your skills. You've put together a model which I think works in today. So I guess we get to grade each other, by the way, if you haven't gauged this part of it. We get to validate if we're nuts or not. But I think you've used your skills well. I think you've taken advantage of the US and your speaking ability and flight hats and all the rest. You've got skills which other people want. Like I know a lot of people would love to be able to generate leads like you. So I don't necessarily think it'll be a struggle to make that happen. You've invested in a network and a laptop and a phone, which I think are the key things you would probably need to make this happen. And then really going with the validate first and then fix the holes later method. Full A-team style. Sorry, I forgot the business cards where it's just like, I find you, you don't find me. Very, very cool.
Yeah, no, thank you. Now I'm excited to hear yours. I'm ready for it.
Ooh, so I knew there would probably be some similarities in what we picked. So I'm going to go straight up. Is the first things I would need to purchase a laptop and a phone. It's like they're key resources in business. If you don't have those two things, I think you're going to find it very, very hard to compete. Now, the next thing I thought about is being that I can't start another outsourcing company or mastermind because we do that stuff now. I'm like, all right, I'm not allowed to do those things there. The first thing I would look at is, again, very, very similar, is finding a big networking group because that's the number one asset I value as well. And we both put a lot of these things into there. But the business model I've decided to go for from here is actually a joint venture broker. So this is how I would do things.
I almost want to challenge you and say you kind of are doing that with the association.
No, but differently. It's not how we do it in the association. So the association is a mastermind group where we help the members do joint ventures. I don't get to make any money out of the members doing joint ventures. I just happily connect people, but I'm very good at it. In this version of the business model is that I would be connecting people for a fee. So as the example, and I'll use you and me as the example, is like I would come in, connect us, arrange the deal, and then take a percentage of the deal. And that would be the whole business model. So I think I've got some good deal structure things that have been done all right with the joint ventures. It's certainly been a strength of my career. And I think that would be the way I would get the leverage the quickest because it doesn't need necessarily big teams or anything like that. So that's the model I would go of, connecting other people to do deals and essentially clip the ticket.
So, biggest question, you have none of your networks. Where do you find all the people to connect with each other?
The mastermind group. That's what I just said. Like I'd join a mastermind group and that would be the start of things from there. But on top of that, I would probably go to meetup groups. I would probably do events. So like one-day events and things like that. Like we see a lot of those things come up and about, like when speakers are in town, and like I would invest a lot into building those networks. So I guess the resources would come to like the mastermind group, much like you mentioned. the going to events and contributing to those things so that I can get to meet people. And then I probably would hire a virtual assistant to help manage things. I don't think I could do without that. I have to have one. So that would be a key hire from my point of view. Now, I suspect in the way that I would go about that, I would probably want to be, I think it's very, very doable in Australia, but I think you have to play the numbers odds. And it's like there's just more business owners in the US. So if I was starting again and I don't know anyone here, I'd probably want to leverage the just sheer numbers force of the US, because the amount of people that are suitable for deals would probably go into that. And in this model, my way of doing it is I would probably spend the first 2 months not making any deals at all, making the network and sussing out what people do and finding the right things to put together. And then after month 2 is when I would start approaching people to bring them in to start working that out. Because hypothetically, if I could put together $1 million deal, and I could take 10% of that, that could be $100,000 on a single transaction without the need of any build out. So I see it as a bit of a shortcut. I'm sure there's probably people out there that do this type of thing already, but I haven't come across any of them in my career.
I like that. I think that's good. Yeah, obviously, definitely leveraging your skill sets and everything there. What was the question that I was going to ask around that? So, mastermind, networking, laptop and everything like that, and VA, any other costs or anything so that you would invest in with that 25K that you have initially?
So I would get a landing page done. I really would, for people to go, yep, look, I want to do a deal. And then that way, that's how I suppose I'd be keeping track of things. Probably just have it go into an Excel sheet in the beginning, in all honesty. I wouldn't invest in any CRMs or anything off the bat. Down the road, definitely, I think they're phenomenally valuable tools, but in the beginning, not so much. Where I look at this right now is I see a huge gap, and this is why I picked this one specifically. I know a lot of business owners that have phenomenal products that are terrible at generating leads. I'll be honest with you. It's not their strength. And I know a lot of phenomenal marketers that are really good at marketing things, but don't necessarily align their audiences to the right things. There's people with huge podcasts or have giant blogs, and they don't connect with anyone that are doing products and services that are aligned. Now, I can't use anyone I know at the moment, but they're the people I would look for. I would look for people that have audiences that aren't being leveraged, and I'd look for business owners that have products and services that can't generate leads, and that's the gap I would want to fill.
And I think I can probably I'm happy to comment on this as well, but I'd love to ask you, with the community that you would choose, what would be the parameters and how would you go about finding that mastermind community that you originally mentioned where you're going to start to build these networks and stuff like that?
Oh, see, there's a little bit of, I don't like using trial and error here, but I always look for like types of people that are in certain groups. So what I mean by that, and I suppose I should elaborate, is that a lot of masterminds have like conditions of entry. And we were looking at one the other day where the condition of entry is you had to be a 7-figure business. So things like that are little indicators with the type of people you're going to be playing with. So when we look at mastermind groups, I'm not saying this for all groups, but it's like free mastermind groups attract certain types of people. And I think that's a lot of the reason why they don't work out. When you come and play in more expensive mastermind groups, it sets a barrier to people that in general, it's not all, that have their business to a certain stage. So I would look for mastermind groups that have those types of barriers to entry, although I wouldn't be able to get in the 7-figure one because I wouldn't have a 7-figure business, but that's just the type of thing I would look for. So yeah, and definitely I think in today's day and age with the powers of the internet, I would want ones that are probably more online focused, not offline focused. Because if I'm focusing on an online mastermind group, so one that has predominantly online activities with my skills and resources, that gives me access to more people.
I like. Very nice.
I really want to know if there's anyone out there right now listening to this with 25 grand trying to start a business that's going to do one of these ideas.
I hope they do.
I really do too. No, that's killer.
Interesting.
So it's funny. There's a lot of similarities in what we've said here, and it's what I find fascinating is both of us, I should say, have put a huge emphasis on network and knowing people. So I think there's a big hint in that for anyone that's listening to this is like, if we value that so highly and you're someone that's starting out and you haven't got a focus on that, maybe that's something to start putting some more attention into, or that would be a hint in my mind there. But I want to shift over to the next one now, because this is frankly, this is the more interesting one. This is where you got to get a bit more creative. So now it's the same exact question, but you've got no startup capital. So you've got $0 in the bank.
Yeah, this is an interesting one, because pretty much I was saying to you before we started, I was like, this is how I started my business anyway. So I was like, I just do all the stuff I did. So I was like, this 25 grand, this is great. People start businesses with this much money.
Can I say, I have to emphasize here, this is hilarious. I have to put this point in. I started my business with 50 grand startup capital, and I lost it all in the first year and had to start from zero. So,
well, there you go.
It's,
so if anyone's listening, if you have 25 grand, just give it to me and Charlie. We'll hang on to it for you. You go and start with zero, and then when you're up and running, we'll give you a couple grand back.
Builds character. Builds a lot of character.
Exactly. So it was interesting, but I would actually probably do something a little left of center for this one, because obviously as well, I'm not going to create the same business, but I have the skills, right? And if I have $0, most likely I'm going to be doing something, working very, very hard for not much return. So I'm going to choose to do something that I would absolutely love to do that's also going to serve some other purpose for me. Now, I'll give you a little bit more clarity on what I mean by that. So currently, if it was like today, everything stripped away, it's like I really am focusing on my health and improving that area. So what I would do, and one of my favorite things to do, is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, right? So I haven't done it for a while purely because I haven't made time for it. Could give it other crappy reasons, but that's really the only reason.
I love the excuse you gave there. Well, it's not really an excuse. You said, I haven't made the time for it. There was no excuse. You were clear. I liked it. That's how I'm going to answer that question. Why haven't you been doing this? I haven't made the time for it. It's killer.
Yeah, because it's just like I could give, it's like, oh, I just haven't got down there or whatever other rubbish. It's like I just haven't prioritized it. So what I would do, $0, is I would walk into probably like a mid-tier jiu-jitsu club. I'd probably stay in Perth, because if I have no money, if I don't do it for a while, at least I can go crash on my dad's couch or something. Or hopefully my girlfriend Lily's making money and I can sleep in our bed still. Then she can
maybe we'll see.
maybe. But I would probably walk into the jiu-jitsu club and say, look, like I have a very particular set of skills. It's like, let me come in here every day. I'm going to come in here and train every day, work with you guys. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to help you build up and build a process of new clients coming in and new students coming in until we are the biggest in Perth. I'm going to be absolutely smash it. But, and I'm going to help you do this, and we're going to do it in the next 3 months. I don't want any money. What I want is after we do this, we're going to open up a chain of these. We're going to open up several, and I want 50% of every one that we open from there once we reach capacity in 3 months' time. You got to put in ad spend. I'll do every single thing else. I'll be here. I'll help close the sales. I'll help do everything like that. And I'll be here every day. I'll train. I'll be with all the people. I'll see the whole process and we'll do it. But once we hit capacity, then we got to look to open another one. You guys got to fund it, and you got to give me a 50% of each one that we open, and I'll do the same thing for every single one.
Good play.
That's what I would do, only because it serves the purpose of using my skills. It's something that I want to focus on, and every day I have to get fit because I'll be in there every day working on it. And I get to still do something that is fun and exciting. And even if I wasn't getting paid, I'd still enjoy it and get up every day because it's something that I'm passionate about.
That's a winner idea. Now, the only thing is, though, how are you doing for food and things like that? So if you've got no money coming in and you've got nothing, how are we surviving?
Ooh. Good question.
Because I don't doubt the idea is good, but even though, like, with all this jiu-jitsu, you're going to be hungry, man.
It's true. Secondary part, I'll also run that same offer for a nutrition company and get them to feed me every day. I'll actually do a JV broker deal where I'll sell their food to the guys at Jiu-Jitsu who want to get lean in exchange for them, do a contra deal, them giving me free food to eat.
Can I put a question out there then? Would you be willing to work, would you stack shelves or flip burgers at night to be able to do this?
Yeah. I reckon I wouldn't have to, because very worst case scenario, and I've known several successful martial artists that have done it, and gym owners as well, that ended up just sleeping on the mats. Like literally have a shower, sleep on the mats. Like I'd happily, let's just say that if I wasn't in a relationship or and no family at all.
Well, you don't know Lily. Lily's out of this. I'll give you your parents. I can't get rid of your parents, but Lily is an asset.
Okay.
Lily's Kim's partner.
Lily's out of this. So then, yeah, I'd sleep on the mats. I'd go, cool. And I would actually do that. I'd broker a deal. I'd go to a food delivery place. I'd go, look, I'll get you 10 clients signed up that will want to eat 4 meals a day of healthy, nutritious food. You give me 2 meals a day. I'm happy. I'm cutting anyway. So I'll eat my 2 meals. Give me a protein shake as well. And I'll sleep on the floor in the gym.
Because we've got to be fair here. And what about debt and things? Like you could probably get a credit card still. It's the credit rules aren't that tight. I mean, there are ways to do this here, but I'd love to pick your brain on it because there's people out there that I'm sure would love to transition, and hearing what they would do if they've got nothing, I think is very valuable. So how do you feel about a debt option?
If I could do those 3 things, I would happily, because I reckon that within 3 months I'd get to the point where they want to give me money and we'd be opening the next one. So I would probably say I would sleep on the floor. I would broker a food deal, and then I would I would do that, and then I wouldn't have to worry about any of that. If I could avoid going into debt, I would, purely because I know that, let's just say it's 3 to 6 months before I get the income coming in, I'm going to be racking up a little bit of, even 60 days interest free, I'm going to start racking up some interest and chewing through it a little bit if I'm not making any repayments. So I prefer to have myself in a clean slate, especially for when I start to generate some cash and then take ownerships and the new ones coming through.
Well, I feel like that's a really good one because I feel like there's 2 types of business owners. Some business owners don't mind a bit of debt and they don't mind starting on a bit of debt, and others are like, nah, it's cash flow only. Like I'd rather work at night and do it more slowly than try and do it from this way. But you've got to remember, you've got your knowledge and skills here.
Yeah, well, and that's the only reason why I feel like I wouldn't have to. If I've got my knowledge and skills still, I think I can get away without having to, because I don't mind afterwards. But like getting into, like, it's like you've just bought a house and then you quit your job and go sit at home. Like I think it's a little bit. That's just my risk profile now. Would 5 years ago probably different. I'd be like, yeah, cool. Give me an unlimited platinum credit card. I'll rack that up. But now I go, oh, I'd rather, if I can avoid it, I'd rather not have it.
It's a tough one, isn't it? It's a really tough one. Now I'm gonna say something. Is it my turn now? Do I get to go into this one? I feel like I've been thinking about it.
I'm ready to hear yours. Here we go. No money, no connections, no lovely Bianca, just you.
All right. So I've thought about this a little bit, and I'm looking at this. And I'm looking at my sheet right now and everything on it. And I actually would probably use debt and start a marketing agency. I really would. So with my skills that I've got from here, I feel like the easiest barrier to entry is a marketing agency because I've already got the skills and knowledge. I'm not learning anything new. And I would go with the approach to keep it super lean. And I look at this right now, and I still think this is one of the most underutilized JVs that exists. Is straight up off the bat is I would find 3 people that have the audience I want. So maybe 3 people that either have podcasts or books or followings or do events and anything like that. I would go work for them for free for 1 month. I'd come work for you for free for 1 month. But then after that month, you were going to pay me based on the value I provide. So get it up front saying you get a whole month with no risk because I got nothing here. But after that, you're going to pay me based on the value I provide. So that would be either in profit or leads or something like that. And that's how I would stack the deck in the beginning. Because when you've got things like that and you don't know anyone, you're not getting referrals and you haven't got a network. So I feel like you almost have to take more of the risk up front. Now, we'll keep in mind, I want to add a stipulation here is that while I'm going into debt, I'm also living in Bali. So my cost of living, I would put through the floor. I would live as cheaply as I can to make that happen and build those relationships online.
So 2 questions. How much debt would you go into, and why do you have to go into debt to start that?
Well, I've got to eat is one thing, and I've got to still have cost of goods. So when I say go into debt, I'm not talking about a huge amount. I would think that living in Bali, and I've been there a bit, is $2,000 a month. You can live on $2,000 a month. I'm not pretending it's the best lifestyle you've ever had, but it's doable. I would also need something like a laptop, which I can get over there or anything like that. So I'm seeing at max maybe a $5,000 debt. I'm happy to wear a $5,000 debt based on I know the skills that I can work with, and I'm confident I could get that down pretty quick. So that would be, I think, the quickest path to revenue. Now, I've decided in this example, I'm not willing to work a job. Now, I'm not saying that's the case for everyone. If you're someone out there that's in a job, then that's from there. It's just I know the potential value of the skills I have from having a marketing agency. So that's where I would head. Unfortunately, I think that's what a lot of people do. But on the reverse of that, if I didn't have the skills I have and I didn't have experience in this niche, then I wouldn't be going into debt for it at all. I would go the job route and I would take a more progressive approach where maybe I'm working full time, build up some income, invest in learning from mentors and things like that, or skills, acquire them, and then move into part time and build the business on the side while I've still got some income to, safely work those progressions. Because Kim, I think we forget, and it's like, do you remember, like I'll give you this the other day, do you remember hiring your first person? My God, it took me like 3 days to like work out the job ad.
Oh, well, I was lucky that mine was very easy because I was very terrible at one thing. So I had to hire a person for that. So that's made it very simple for me, but it was very scary. But can I throw a cat amongst the pigeons? Because if I was going to do redo a marketing agency, it's going to be the same. And only because you've done it before. If you couldn't do a marketing agency as well, what would you do?
Okay, so online service. So this might be video editing. I did PPC previously, so you're right, I have broken the rules a little bit there. But I suppose I would go into something in that field which generates more than I'm worth. That's where I would go.
Nice. I like it because I think it's good for people listening if they go, well, because some people may not know you've done PPC in the past, and then going, well, okay, if you didn't have that as well, what would it be? So it's good to, I think it's good clarification there too. So yeah, very interesting, that one. I like it.
I'd almost think about this as well, like looking with the skills I have now, is I would probably build that agency very, very differently with an aim to sell it in probably 18 months. So I would probably look at it as that's the play, and then I would use that startup capital to go into option one. Because I feel like that's the game. So if I could get to a position, and that's, I mean, something you can kind of look at is we've gone through two scenarios here, but it's like we could both have as easily used option two to get us to option one where we had the startup capital and done things that way. So I feel like we probably would have drifted to there, but this has been a fascinating conversation. It's really made me question a lot of things from there.
Yeah, no, it's been good. And to be honest, I had no idea what I was going to say for number one, because I was basing everything on doing marketing, and then you threw the curveball after we started. That I wanted to
make it a little bit interesting.
Yeah, exactly. Keep me on my toes. But it was good to see what came out, and I think it's interesting for a lot of people to kind of think of what, like, because everyone has a skill in some area, and then how you would like go and apply it and start, even if you didn't have the same. Because I would say that both of us have relatively, world-class skills at what we do, in some way, shape, or form. But if you were just starting out, I don't think the approach necessarily changes that much at all. It's still a very similar, like, even if I had no skill sets, but I was kind of beginning to mid-tier, I'd still do the same approach for both of them, because I believe in myself enough to make it happen in doing those things. If I was sleeping on the floor in a gym every single night, I would definitely be looking at the ads all day, doing little tweaks and things and learning, and I'd be in there enough that my 10,000 hours would come up pretty quickly. So I just want to throw that out there for people. If you're going, well, yes, but you guys also still had your skills, take that away. I think it would still be a very similar approach.
Well, I'm going to put it out there. If you didn't have the skills, now, first off, do you know the crazy thing is, like, knowing you and knowing me, it's like if I had to sleep on the mats to make it, I'd kind of enjoy it. Like, it's part of the experience and the story. And it's like, these are the things we get up to. Like, I've done some interesting things. Like, have you ever had to work a day straight, like 24 hours straight?
Yeah, I've done 24 hours.
I remember doing a Boxing Day turnover for a client's campaign to get Boxing Day things happening for their ads and stuff. And I literally had to work 24 hours to roll the ads out consecutively on Boxing Day. And I was like, oh, this hurt. So it's like you have that in you, but it's an interesting story now. But it's like you enjoy the journey a lot more when you love it. And so sleeping on the mats isn't a big deal. But I want to come back around on that one. No skills, no network. What's your approach then? How are you treating things differently? Because I'll be real, I would do it differently.
Well, I would go down pretty much the apprentice model. Like I would just
100%.
find like whoever it is, and it's like cool. Like if I wanted to do marketing, or if I did want to do martial arts or whatever, I'd go cool. Look, I don't want any money. I will be the hardest working person that you've ever seen. I need a bit of food, and that's pretty much it. And I just want to learn. So give me whatever task you want. I don't mind. I'll pick you up coffee in the morning. I'll sweep the floors at night. But throughout the day, I want to be learning and applying, and to learn. And to build my skill set up, and all I need is you just to feed me, and don't worry about anything else.
Yeah, see, I would go very much a similar route. Is that if I had nothing and I would look at it, I'd first identify what I want. Like, what do I want? Like, who's got the life and assets of the things I want? And it's not the same for all people. Like, some people want, and I use this example, is like some people want Iron Man wealth. It's like, gadgets in a garage. Other people, when they envision things, it's traveling the world and freedom, but they're very, very different. So identify what I want, and then I would just find someone who has been or does the things I would, and go into complete modeling mode. And much like you said, be the apprentice, learn everything they have and condense what they've probably spent 20 years learning into a couple. And that's just such a huge shortcut. I'm a big fan of, there's someone called Keith Cunningham, who I think you're a fan of him as well. If you're not, you should be. But I just love him at the moment. And one of the things I've heard him say in his book, or so I suppose I should have said read in his book, is like trial and error is the dumbest way to do things. Just find someone who's done it and do what they say. And I'm like, yes, absolutely yes.
Yeah, it's so true, and I think it is. And it's surprising how often, like not necessarily will you get your first choice as well. Some people would be just like no, but if you look for it, like some of the people that started work with me, they did that model pretty well, and they're hitting out of the park now. And I've seen so many people that I know who have been successful do that. They go on, learn, do their apprenticeship, if you will, and then take off from there.
So who's I'll put it out there. Let's pretend like Richard Branson or Warren Buffett or Bill Gates or Elon Musk said, Kim, you can come work for me for free and be my sidekick. Would you get rid of everything you have now and go do that? Whoever's your favorite in that pick.
Good question.
It's tough one, isn't it?
If I don't know if I actually would, to be honest, because here's one thing, and one reason why I would lean towards a no is that from where I am now, executing and achieving what I need to, they're probably two. If there's like a ladder of success, they're probably two rungs up above where the next person I think I need to learn from is. And the only reason being is that I think that when people get to that level, they operate on a entirely different level that I don't think that they can, and this is a generalization and assumption, I don't think that they can adequately explain how they got from where I am now to the next level, to like, if they can remember all the way back. And I've seen a lot of people do it when they break it down. They talk about, for example, what's working for them right now, what they would do, and they would have great insights. But I think it would be very hard for me to apply for the position I'm in currently versus if I was at a different level in my business and life, then I would say absolutely yes. But I think I would not get the most benefit out of it. So I would probably, maybe incorrect. I think Charley might burn me here, but
I don't know. It's a personal question. There's no wrong answer here. I just find this question very fascinating because again, it was like I was having a conversation with someone, and it's no secret. Like, I'm a Brad Sugar's fanboy, and I'm absolutely a Keith Cunningham fanboy. I think they both make excellent stuff. If either of them said, "Pack up your shit, you're coming to work for me for a year for free," I would be there.
I think those two versus the other guys would be like, I know obviously they're both very successful as well, but I think that they could distill, especially just based on their backgrounds, they could distill it down better for you to take away and apply versus working with someone like Warren Buffett. It's like, or even Elon Musk. It's like the way that they think and operate, and the like. Oh, maybe not Warren. Like, if I wanted to invest, maybe Warren Buffett, because I think obviously his principles would be pretty like straightforward. I think he's, that is well documented, but I think like some of the stuff that Elon and stuff do would be too too out there. Maybe even Richard Branson as well would probably be a little bit too far out there. Whereas those other guys, especially Brad, when he's documented and systemized and processized all the stuff that he's ever done, I think his would be like a no-brainer to do it, because you would be like, well, here's like the blueprint for my life. Take it, and it's.
So you would do it for the right person. This is picking the right person.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like, I think you have to, and same when you're looking for a mentor, or like we're talking about the mastermind groups, I think you have to choose the ones for like the people that are not necessarily light years ahead of you, but going, cool, how can I learn from a group that's a couple of steps ahead, catch up, skip, like I think it's the old Arnold Schwarzenegger thing. He's like, I found who was the best. He's like, I found a mentor, caught up to them, overtook them, found my next mentor. Caught up to them, overtook them, found my next mentor. And that's like the process that he used to become the best in the world.
I would add Arnold Schwarzenegger to my list. If Arnold Schwarzenegger said I could come work for him for a year and learn from him, I would do that as well.
Yeah, just be bench pressing all day.
That's what it takes, man. Like, he's done some pretty impressive stuff. Like, even, off the stage of bodybuilding, like his list of achievement is just absolutely crazy. So it's like, I would absolutely want to get around to that. I think it's the case where it's never the thing, it's the person. You could have put him into anything and he would have become world class.
And it's the same, like one person who is probably a couple steps ahead, but I would definitely do it just because he's awesome, would be The Rock. Like The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, if you're listening, I know you're a regular listener of the podcast, feel free to reach out to me, because I'd definitely jump and go and do something with him. I think, he's just one of my all-time favorites. Huge fanboy of The Rock.
Absolutely, I will second that one. If he's wanting to do two of us, we'll take it.
Yeah.
Well, dude, I tell you what, a lot of interesting distinctions there and lots of thoughts. And I tell you what, we might even, if people are listening to this and they have their own version of what they would do, we might even read some out if we get some replies to this in another episode, hearing how other people would go about it. But that is it for today's show. Is there anything else you would love to share with the listeners?
I think that if I was to distill anything from what we've said is, obviously, and in no way, shape, or form was it premeditated, but the power of being around a group of like-minded people and getting a network. As Charley, Let's Make a Deal Valor would say, your network is your net worth. So I think that is so powerful, and it's no joke or qualm that we say. It's because it is actually legitimate, and it's actually so important that whether you choose to go and join an amazing group like the association, or you join another community, like getting amongst people in a mastermind community that are of great quality is just literally worth its weight in gold, Bitcoin, whatever you want to pay for it. It's ridiculous. So that's all I would say is, like, there's a reason why that's a recurring theme that we would use. Anyone that's been on our podcast as a guest would recommend, and things like that. It's world class.
Every time I've upgraded my network, my business has got better. I can't explain the direct cause and effect relationship. Often you can't even feel it or see the connection, but it certainly has had an effect. As soon as you start hanging around people at a certain level, you start to become them. It's just inevitable law of the universe, if you will, or universal law. So that's it for this show. I'm sure we will get some replies, and I'm very, very interested to see how other people would have done it in the same circumstances from there. So I look forward to hearing from that. That's it for this show. Thank you so much, Kim Barrett.
Thank you. Cheers.